not asked this morning if you guys had enough time to talk beforehand. Do you need that? I just realized we just marched in.
That's fine, because we have only an hour to begin with.
I understand.
And I should leave a few minutes early, because I got
Okay.
the other side of town first.
Okay. Are we ready, one?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
He's gonna charge time and a half, because he doesn't have to try that.
Well, I will wash dishes at his house to make up for it. Good morning, everyone. My name is Javier Mesa. For those who don't know me, this is the second bargaining session of this year. Today's July 8, 2019. I just wanted, before we begin, take the time to introduce a few of ourselves so we can identify ourselves via voice. I'll start with, to my left, our co-president.
My name is Andrea and I am the co-president.
And so you guys will go ahead.
I'm Bill Cannell. I'm the chief partner for the university for both the grad assistants and the faculty.
And I'm Paul Duncan. I'm Senior Associate Dean at the Graduate School.
And faculty member somewhere over the other side of campus.
Indeed. I'm a long time, let's say, 40-year faculty member. My academic home is the College of Public Health and Health Professions in the Department of Health Services Research Management.
And I'm Brooke Mercier. I'm the UFHR. I'm the Director of Employee and Labor Relations.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I understand that you want to have
Just a couple remarks.
Yes, go ahead.
First, I was very glad that we had the session that we did with Mike McKee. I thought you came well prepared, you asked good questions, and I think he did a nice job of explaining things to you. We obviously now know what the president is going to do for those who are not in bargaining units. If it wasn't clear from my first session, our first session, and from the discussion with Mike, we will not agree to rating reserves for one-time funding to fund a raise. Given this information, we turn to you to tell us how you want to shape things.
Okay. So, just to be clear, our first proposal is rejected formally.
Yeah.
Okay. We do have a proposal here today, and I want to just explain a couple of things about it, just to bring us all, make sure we're all on the same page here. Now passing over copies to Provost, Dean, and Director. So,
And you will send us an electronic version?
yes, I can do that, absolutely. So, some changes from our first proposal. We kept the same language in 10.3 raises, about a raise from 550 to 650. I will admit that I put August 19, 2019. I don't know if that's the appropriate date. That's the first day of the fall semester. I know we get paid on Fridays, but I'll just highlight that right now. Secondly, with regards to 10.5, I understand the university may not have funds right now to pay for salary raises or student fees. However, because we want a little bit more appreciation and insight into the process, the discretionary process the university takes in issuing raises, we see 10.5 as a waiver of our constitutional right to collectively bargain for wages. Through this proposal, we'd be reaffirming that right, reclaiming it, revoking the current language of 10.5, and requiring that the university advise, notice us, and require our advice and consent as to any raises. The last section, 10.6, very briefly, we are making some concessions from our first proposal. Instead of requesting or demanding complete fee remission, we are now instead requesting fee relief with regards to particular fees, namely the student financial aid fee, the activity and service fee, and the transportation fee. I'll reiterate, this is not a request that these fees be absolved necessarily, simply a remission, a shifting of the burdens from GAs to the university, which we believe is in a better position to make these payments than us with our restricted salaries. That, by my calculation, I've included in the back sort of a fee chart of how much these fees cost per credit hour. I'm still operating under the assumption that it's, 24 hours per student per year. But the student financial aid and activity service fees are the largest fees that we pay per hour, about $22.43 and $19.06 respectively. The transportation fee, which I've also requested relief from, is $9.44. That's about a 40% reduction from our previous request for complete fee remission. So all in all, that will, I estimate that will cost the university about $5 million recurring annually. A step down from the $8 million we proposed earlier, about a 30 to 40% decrease. And for those of you GAs in the room who want a copy, I can send it to you electronically as well. Just let me know afterward. I'll give you some time to digest the proposal.
This is per semester?
With regard to specifically, yes, for the fee remission, yes, and the chart is based off of what I can find online, and I confirmed it with what I think. So the math should check out. And just to, last I checked, according to the Office of Institutional Planning Research, there are 4,084 GAs as of the fall semester last year.
So you're talking roughly $400,000.
I'm sorry?
You're talking roughly 400,000.
So as I calculated, when you add up the three charges that I suggested, let me pick up my math here. The total of those three charges is about 50.93 per credit hour, at a rate of 24 credit hours per year.
Wait a minute. Per credit hour.
Yeah, no worries. So if the university remits $50.93 per credit hour for 24 credit hours, that amounts to $744 per year in fees for each GA, which the university will be tacking on and absolving us of $750 with this current proposal. And I estimate that,
Just under 3 there.
yes,
And 3 million on your salary base is.
so it's just. That's the cost. 70. Yeah. So my co-president is going to put the math on the board so we can all kind of follow along. We don't have it right.
I don't have a drawing. Thank you. What is that?
Andrea, on your sheet, the three, the numbers in the row.
Yeah, is that per semester?
Yes.
That's per year.
Per year.
Oh,
per year. Yeah, I'm assuming that's 744 figures based on 24 credit hours.
Gotcha.
So it might be actually a little less when you include master students who might not do summer or professional programs.
Or you can just see only do 3 hours in the summer versus.
Okay. So it's a liberal estimate by my count.
I'm just trying to get ballpark.
Yeah.
So I can understand.
And I also don't mean to beat a dead horse. I'm also just kind of for
Right.
GAs who may have questions for me afterwards, like, why did you say this?
Yeah.
CH is just credit hour, so that's how much we pay per credit hour, times 9 every semester.
Yeah, I got the total for that.
Okay, my next question is, each continuing employee will receive $650. That's $100 per employee, right?
Yeah. So I think your estimate was about 400,000 more, which that's about right to me. That actually, I think that's also very liberal because some GAs won't be continuing, right?
Right. And there's 12 month versus 9 month.
Right.
But again, just the ballpark. I think on 10.3B, you need to change the date on that because we're doing the following.
I agree. The copy I'll send you will reflect that change.
Okay. Okay, 10.5. So you're saying that, under your proposal, that unless you consent, we can't give somebody a raise? So you're saying we control our members?
To be specific, I think we have a constitutional right to collectively bargain.
You do.
Wages. And that right was waived by a previous GAU body. Because we're making such a concession in terms of the fee relief that we were requesting, taking a step down, we would like to be involved in that process, get a better feel of how the discretion is used to implement raises across campus. And it would also apply to salary decreases. Now, I think some things are managerial prerogative as a matter of law, and I'm not the pastor right now. I'm not speaking as a lawyer, merely as a representative of the Florida statutes. But we do have, and I'll be clear right now, it is not my intention to stifle raises for any GAs. I think many of you know that. But this is more so, from our perspective, an accounting measure, so that we can see how the discretion is used to allocate these funds. And we think that's kind of fair, considering we're coming down $5 million every year. But we're trading that money essentially for an oversight power. And it's not effectively
What, 5 million?
our reduction from, originally we came in with an $8 million figure for total fee remission. Now we've come down to about $3 million instead, which I think is a significant concession.
It's also much more than I have authorization to do.
Okay.
I'll be blunt.
Okay. But we can talk about that in a little bit. I don't know if, I don't want to shoot in the dark here and keep calling for bargaining sessions when I don't have any indication of what you are currently authorized to. And I mean, we still have over a month left. No, we have about 1 month left to bargain.
Right.
So, our demands might change and your authority may change as well.
My authority's not gonna change. I don't believe it. I can always go ask.
Okay.
But I think the parameters that the president established for the rest of the campus give you a good benchmark.
And I understand that you, as representative, you only have so much that you can do.
Right.
So, and that's why we want the 10.5 revocation, is well, because it gives us more insight into how it is that you dish out this discretionary money. So I think in the long run, we'll have, as a body, not just this current administration, which I think our current administration has tried to get an understanding of these things so we can make the most of bargaining. But with that kind of insight into the process, GAUs for years to come
Would you
will
be
have that kind of
satisfied if we
understanding.
gave you a report each year of any discretionary increases? Okay.
I think so. I think that this is a much more stringent. This is a lot more binding, right? And we're not just asking also for discretionary increases. We're also asking for insight into any salary decreases. I imagine there may not be very many, if any at all. But I can't think of any better way to preserve this right than to memorialize it in our CBA.
Okay.
Which I also see it as a return to a default condition. You know.
I don't see it as quite.
Okay.
Questions, observations?
I have a curiosity question.
Yeah.
I do notice that the fees you selected are the high-priced ones, but apart from that, was there any basis for the selection of these particular fees?
That's a great question, and yes, I can talk about that a little bit now. The student financial aid fee is the largest one, obviously. My understanding of the fee, doing a little bit of research, is that 75% of that money, by law, has to be used for students of absolute need. I think you have discretion over remaining 25%, and some of that carries forward, but only until the next fiscal year. So it's not money you can put in a pot and keep using forever. That kind of, I'm realizing now, that kind of regulation occurs often, where you're limited to the next fiscal year in terms of carry forward. But it seems a little, I don't want to say ironic, but it's hard to process for me that a lot of us are, and the university acknowledges this, you know, you're working with certain parameters, we're struggling financially. So every year it feels like the university takes a portion of our money that we can use to fund our own education. We don't have, we don't have money to spare necessarily, invest in other students who are of need. I'm not against helping out students in need. I'm quite for it. I'm just shifting the burden to the party that I think is better equipped to do that than struggling GAs. With regards to the activity and service fee, I think that one rubbed us a little harder. As I understand it, a lot of this money is allocated by SGA for events. There are open events that we can all kind of benefit from. I would wager that if you calculate how many GAs actually show up to these events and benefit from these events, the number is relatively low. So it's, again, I'm not against, having concerts on campus. I'm against having the struggling GA scraping up money to pay it every year. To the tune of, $19 for 24 credit hours. That's a little under, that's almost $500, $450. I think that is a little hard for us to swallow as a group. We did not decide to do the health fee, but we decided instead to do the transportation fee, which is the fourth largest fee. We think that it's great that we can ride the city buses. I think some of us have to get to work. It's beneficial to keep that around. But many of us already pay for parking several $100s. That's something that I'm obviously not bringing to the table this year. Well, we can't bring it to the table this year. I don't think that the state of Florida has some reservations about how you can pay for parking as a university. But to the tune of $240 on top of what you pay for parking, to ride the bus, again, I think that burden is better handled by the university with access to legislative money than us. So does that kind of?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm glad you asked that because it's worth drawing that out or explaining that.
Two words in your proposal for 10.5,
Yes.
advice and consent.
Yes.
And so Bill mentioned a report. What about the first word there in terms of advice or communication before those were implemented, but not necessarily consent for those?
Yeah, so I write consent because if we want to use our right to say, you can't, it's something we have to bargain over. That's what I mean by consent, right? It's a matter, if we do, I imagine under some exigent or extreme circumstances, decide that we want to stifle a raise, what we would do essentially is bunch it to the negotiation table. We could do impact bargaining, I'm open to the actual vehicle by which we do that, if we set up a liaison committee, or if we just wait until our 90-day period of bargaining. I'm amenable to that, including the vehicle within the contract. Advice just gives us an opportunity to put in our 2 cents as to whether, hey, we've noticed you've been selecting a lot of raises for this department, and then at the negotiating table, you tell us, we don't have this, that, this.
Okay, let me give you an example.
Sure.
When we implemented the new stipend program, for a bucket full of money, probably when it's all done, about 14 million. A number of colleges, or at least one, maybe more, said, we've got a little extra cash stashed away here, so we're gonna take care of our existing GAs because we don't want them disadvantaged by that. So we'd have to consult with you and get your permission to do that.
You have to consult with us because we can collectively bargain over these things.
I understand.
Yeah. My understanding is, yes, the law affords us that. And now I understand that the colleges, we have to get some information from the colleges in this process, but yeah.
It slows down the process immensely.
It does, but we can do this under the Florida Constitution. And I'm amenable to setting up an expedient process like a liaison committee or an impact bargaining committee. Those details
I can tell you right now, if I go talk to the deans, I will get a huge fight.
This is something I'm willing to negotiate over, the 10.5 language.
Okay. Then the only other observation I have is we're clearly at odds on that. I understand your rationale for the $650 for the continuing employees. It's kind of that's a safety valve, if you will, for those who aren't on the new program, and I understand that. But if I take a quick look at your numbers, I would say we're $1 million to $1.5 million off. So we've got a long ways to go.
I will entertain any counter proposal.
We will have one for you next week.
Okay. I don't think that I have anything else to add at this
So,
point. Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah, like I mentioned, we're amenable to even removing the 10.5 language. But it's kind of, if we not getting, it's kind of like, I hate to use it, but taxation without representation, right? If we're going to pay for a lot of these things, I understand some of this money is not going into raises. You're getting raise money from the legislature, but it affords us an opportunity to see how the machine works. I think that we would benefit largely from that, and future GAs kind of have an understanding how the university decides to spend its discretionary funding.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you much.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything to add at this point?
Yeah, I think is it the 22nd?
It's the 27th. And we're scheduled to end on the 8th. We're scheduled to end on the 8th of August.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah. We'll end this meeting early. I will send you an electronic copy. We will debrief outside.